Big Seance Podcast, Episode 107, The Return of Theresa Cheung and Claire Broad.
So I went on a bit of a search and was extremely blessed, or was it synchronicity, to go to one of Claire's demonstrations and be very touched by what I saw. And it wasn't just the proof of survival that she was giving, it was more her charisma, her personality, her vibrance. And I saw how the audience picked up on that. And whether they'd had a message or not, they left feeling better and connected in spirit. And I thought, this is the medium for me.
It's about giving someone healing, comfort, empowerment. And this is the thing that's quite often missed by the skeptics. The power to give someone an experience that lifts them and allows them to leave happier. Even if you don't believe the medium's talking to a deceased person, just that fact alone means that there is a service there that medium is providing that's valuable. And so we have to honour that. As mediums, we have to realise how precious that is. And I hope that's what comes across.
Welcome to the Big Seance Podcast. I'm Patrick Keller of BigSeance.com, and this is a place for an open discussion on all things paranormal, but specifically topics like ghosts and hauntings, paranormal research, spirit communication, psychics and mediums, and life after death. So basically, anything that pops up in my paranormal world. The candles are already lit, so you might as well come on in and join the seance.
Hi, Patrick. My name is Leslie, and I live in Buffalo, New York, and I have participated in chats in the parlor, and I actually have chatted with you a couple of times when you've went live over the years, and I wanted to tell you just how much I love the Big Seance. I listen to a lot of paranormal shows. I am a geek. I geek out on all the ghostly things that go bump in the night, and I have to tell you that your show is a gem amongst all of the other podcasts. Your passion and interest make everything you do with this podcast just shine. And your voice is so enthusiastic when you talk to your guests. Your topics are intriguing. You get wonderful guests on your show. And I guess I only wish that you did it way more often, but that's just my selfishness speaking. I have listened to every episode, some more times than others, including the few you did about the Conjuring and the Warrens, which I found incredibly fascinating. And I just wanted to leave you a message to let you know I appreciate what you do, and I will be listening to you from here on. And I wish you the best, and happy Halloween.
Wow! Halloween has crept up on us, hasn't it? Since this is the last time I'll talk to you before then, happy Halloween! If you didn't know, in the first year of the podcast, when autumn came, I really went overboard and had several episodes devoted to Halloween, including my interview with Leslie Bannatyne, who is widely known as the holiday's leading expert. There's also a fun episode co-hosted by our friend Karen A. Dahlman, and of course last year's very popular Halloween seance. I also have several old blog posts from years past devoted to Halloween. Well, I've collected all of those links, and I have them stored in one location. You can get to it by going to bigseance.com/Halloween. So if you're looking for more spooky or nerdy Halloween content, be sure to go to bigseance.com/Halloween. But today's episode isn't about Halloween at all, but it's filled with laughs and smiles. Previous guests, Theresa Cheung and Claire Broad, have returned, this time together, to talk about the new book they've co-authored called Answers from Heaven, Incredible True Stories of Heavenly Encounters and the Afterlife. Once again, I'm going to have to take a rain check on listener feedback for another week, so I owe you quite a few in a future episode. But to make it up to you, I'm going to include several hilarious outtakes and some behind-the-scenes clips from post-interview chatter with Theresa and Claire. That'll be the Easter egg at the end of the episode. Tonight, in honor of Halloween, I think I'll pour some hot apple cider. Care for some? Theresa Cheung was born into a family of spiritualists and studied theology and English at King's College, Cambridge University, before launching into a career in education and then journalism and writing. She's been writing books about the psychic world for over 25 years now, some of which have gone on to become Sunday Times top 10 bestsellers. Some have been translated into 25 different languages, and her international best-selling Mind, Body, Spirit encyclopedias are still selling strongly. Yet she has never claimed to be a psychic or a medium. She is just an ordinary woman who's had extraordinary experiences. Her website is theresacheung.com. Claire Broad gave her first spirit communication to a relative at the age of 4 and started to develop her ability at the age of 21, with the hope that through developing her skills, she might help others and better understand the question of life after death for herself. She has 20 years professional experience working in various ways, including one-on-one private sittings, public demonstrations, public speaking, and teaching. Claire regularly runs workshops and classes related to mediumship and spiritual development, and often is a speaker at spiritual awareness centers and churches. She's been accredited by the ISM as a registered and approved medium, and on top of all this, she has also demonstrated to sold-out theater audiences. Her aim is to provide clients with evidence for the survival of consciousness after physical death, with the hope that in providing this insight, clients may gain an expanded awareness of life and the motivation to move through their grief and live more happily. Visit Claire's website at clairebroad.com or clairvoyant.co.uk. Get it? I love that. A few years ago, I had 2 mediums contact me from the UK, and neither of them even knew each other, but they both contacted me probably within the same week, and they shared details of the work that they did as mediums. This led to opening the doors to myself and my audience learning about mediumship outside of the U.S., since most of my audience resides here in the U.S. Well, one of those mediums was Claire Broad, and she joined me here in the parlor way back in, I didn't realize it was this long ago, but it was way back in episode 38. And I remember it like it was yesterday because it was one of those very first interviews where the feel-good energy was so strong and just swirling all around. I'm making hand signs like the audience can see it. And we could have spoken for hours, and it was just beautiful. And then through Claire, I got connected with Theresa Cheung and her writing. And then Theresa joined me in the parlor for an absolutely beautiful interview in episode 79. And since then, Claire and Theresa have decided to collaborate on this wonderful book, one that I've had the pleasure of being able to read early, because I guess I'm just special. And it's called Answers from Heaven, Incredible True Stories of Heavenly Encounters and the Afterlife. And I think we might have to worry about Theresa because she's got the giggles. But hello, ladies. Welcome back to the Big Seance Parlor.
Hi, Patrick.
I'm offended already, Patrick. You mentioned Claire first, and you know how fragile my ego is.
Oh, well, I met Claire first. That's how it worked.
I'm only joking.
I'll make sure to change that and always say Theresa first for the rest of the interview.
But, I mean, it's heartfelt back there, Patrick. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very, very much.
Well, then how about this? The first question will go to you, Theresa, just to turn that around.
As it should. Just wait your turn, Claire.
Theresa, you've written like 11,000 very popular books that are read all over the world. So do you want to tell us about how this collaboration with Claire happened?
Yes. I started running an author page. I dipped my toe into social media for the first time, having been very much an invisible spiritual writer. And I really felt that there was a gap, that people were asking me questions about communication with the other side that I was unable to answer, because I do have my moments of intuition and dreams and coincidences, but I would not say that I'm a medium or a psychic. And then the challenge was to find someone that I could actually endorse to my readers who do ask me these questions that I actually believed in. And over the years, having been writing for 20 odd years about the world of spirit, I kind of not lost my faith, but I haven't actually been convinced by many of the people I saw. So I went on a bit of a search and was extremely blessed, or was it synchronicity, to go to one of Claire's demonstrations and be very touched by what I saw. And it wasn't just the proof of survival that she was giving, it was more her charisma, her personality, her vibrance. And I saw how the audience picked up on that. And whether they'd had a message or not, they left feeling better and connected in spirit. And I thought, this is the medium for me. This is what it's all about. Joy and proof of survival, whether you get a personal message or not. And I asked her to do some posts on my page, and they proved more popular than mine. And even now, and I love that, though. I could not, I'm at a stage in my career when I absolutely love the fact that I can do this, and to powerfully endorse a medium for the first time, because up until a year ago, in my books, I always said, I'm not really sold on mediums, don't go. I prefer direct contact with heaven. So this is a big departure for me as a writer. In all my books, having had one message, you don't need an intermediary between you and heaven, to now say, well, maybe there are some individuals who, whatever reason, perhaps because they've had a gift that we all have, but they have taken the time to develop it, that can give you that comfort and that boost, that then maybe you can go on for your own spiritual and psychic development. And Claire is one of those people. She is the real deal. And that's why I call her the honest medium, because she is. And I can elaborate more on that. And I could talk for ages, so I'll stop now.
Well, I can just tell you, I appreciate the collaboration because I'm obsessed with reading books by mediums and hearing stories
I
from...
say by Theresa Cheung there. It was a missed opportunity, really, Patrick.
And I love my Theresa Cheung books, too. I do.
Joking.
But no, I loved the collaboration of that, because I'm a sucker for any book by a psychic or a medium, and to see them both, your thoughts and hers, together was nice. And this was your first book, Claire. Was it a wild ride?
Oh, it's been wild. It's been amazing.
Don't forget, she's got a Native American Indian behind us, so she can do anything.
She does.
I don't know if you remember, Patrick, because I can't believe time's flown since we last spoke. But do you remember me saying to you when we'd finished our interview that the spirit world had been telling me for years that I needed to write a book and I didn't know how to do it? And I remember you saying to me, if you get that book written, let me know. And it's just so, it just feels like this is totally out of my hands in a very divine kind of way, which sounds trite. But I have been told over the last 20 years that this book was coming, that I would write it, and I didn't know how. And then mediums, the wonderful thing about the message was it was coming from different mediums, from different angles, no one knowing that I'd been told that before. And the evidence was building, and I was thinking, I don't know how I'm supposed to write this book. And then Theresa contacted me literally from out of the blue, and a lovely relationship developed between us. And this book has just been a joy. And the title is Answers from Heaven. And my spirit guide tells me that heaven is a state of being, not a destination. And I would say that, without sounding like this is all sort of mushy lovey, that's how it's been a joy. It's been heavenly. I didn't go for heaven. I'm not religious, So heaven wasn't a word I would use all the time. I sit well with spirit world or afterlife, but the whole process has just been not only a massive learning experience, but just fabulous, finding out that, there are people like Theresa out there willing to help me get this message that has been being brought through from the spirit world for my whole life, but for the last 20 years. Just feels like I'm on point. I just feel like I'm doing exactly what I came here to do, and there's nothing nicer than that feeling. So it's a joy.
Yeah, some people go a long time without feeling that way, like you're on that right road and everything's just resonating.
And you know what? It's quite scary, because sometimes it means stepping outside of your comfort zone and putting yourself. I've always kept in the shadows. That was the spirit world kept telling me off for hiding and not getting my message out there. And as Theresa says, I do believe that there is a deceased Native American who's been communicating to me.
I'm so jealous. Have you seen him? He is hot.
I have seen it.
Yes, please.
Those eyes.
Patrick, I get nothing.
Well, Patrick knew I had actually spoken about White Feather before, so, I had to come out of the closet.
Oh, that's...
But that's quite scary to do that and to own that,
And she's totally normal. That's the great thing.
Totally normal.
It's very hard for me to take when somebody talks about spirit guides. I must admit, I've been in all my life writing about this, and it is still something, because I haven't experienced it, and until I do, but I just have to believe. And I believe Claire, and anyone who knows her, she's down to earth, lovely lady, had a successful career before doing what she's doing now, happily married, lovely children, and every appearance is just somebody you'd just love to sit down and have a coffee with. And she's made it so natural to talk about spirit guides without wanting to cart her off to a psychiatric unit, and what she said about being quiet, another thing that appealed to me about her. For 20 years, this lady has been doing this, giving readings, giving healing. And I can tell you, there's no financial reward for the demonstration she does. Only recently she started to take on clients, and she's booked a year in advance, but it's been all quiet under the radar. And those are the people that I think are the real deal. And people like Claire, who are quietly going about their work, doing spiritual work because they can't do anything else. It's their calling. And they're the people, I think, that the future of spirituality lies.
And I don't know how anybody could have a conversation with Claire and not realize just immediately that she's the real deal. There's not a
She is special. She doesn't realize it either.
Oh, don't.
I don't know how to describe it. I mean, there's not an artificial element at all there.
No, I've been to her demonstrations, and she'll just get up there on that podium and just give this most amazing talk that isn't prepared, isn't scripted, with wisdom. And she can't remember what she said after. It's it must be channeled, because I know that if I have to do a talk and I do bookshop stuff, I prepare it, I learn it, Claire, she'll just get up there without any preparation and give the audience, before she does her individual readings with people, in the audience, an amazing piece of oratory, really, about life in spirit. And that's even more compelling sometimes than the proof of survival, which she does do, because I know she doesn't know anyone in the audience. And then she'll say something and you'll be scratching your head and say, how did she know that? The last time I went, she got the name right for someone. I think it was Carol or something like that. I just can't believe it. And the woman was crying.
Mm-hmm.
How did Claire know?
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You see, I don't profess. Let me just say, I've always been told that you let other people talk about you as the medium. You never talk about yourself. So thank you. Thank you. I'm living by that philosophy. But the other thing is that I try to be completely normal and honest about this. I do believe that consciousness can survive physical death, based on the fact that I've spent my lifetime trying to put that to the test as best as I can. I don't believe I get caught off and away with the fairies. And I grapple with it and have my difficulties trying to understand what's going on. And as much as I say to my clients, this is my belief as to what's going on. I also don't profess to know all the answers, and I don't think we should. I do think we should keep questioning it, which is one of the reasons I was so excited that Dr. Julie Beischer was involved, and I got a chance to speak about the science and to try and normalise this subject and to help people to understand that even mediums doubt, question, or trying to understand for ourselves what's going on. And all I can say with absolute certainty is when I give a message and the person, because I don't know what I'm saying, when the person comes back and validates it, it's even for me unbelievable sometimes. It goes, and what I mean by that is it goes beyond everything that science says is possible. And so I'm only left with the fact that there's a couple of options here. Either it's fantastic super psi on my part and I'm amazingly telepathic, which in itself would be a feat in itself, which I don't really hold, or consciousness survives physical death. And to me, as outlandish as that might sound for some people, I've chewed over and over this for the last 20 years, and I really do feel that's where we're getting with it. There is sometimes when I give evidence that I know I didn't know and the client doesn't know, and they have to go away and find out. There's no mind reading going on there. Client doesn't know. They've had to go and trace family members in the past and things that, such examples like that. That's when I say I do believe consciousness goes on, but let's make it normal. Let's try and understand it. It's a natural thing. I know we're paranerds, Patrick, and we love the paranormal and all of that as well. But at the same time, I think it's a natural thing. And so everybody's got a story. I'm not special. Everybody has a story. Everybody has had that time, or a family member has had that moment when they've told them something's happened. And, it's just that I have taken such an interest in it. I've tried to learn about it and train myself in it. And that's why sometimes mediums are needed. Like the point of Answers from Heaven is that Theresa takes us through the way that the spirit world directly communicate with us. And then I take the readers through why it is the spirit world come to a medium. And the reason really is because most of us don't train to learn how to listen to or to perceive the spirit world. Some of us do, and we're able to just get that little bit more evidence than may be possible if it's just that we've just had a couple of signs and not done any more with it as everyday people. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And to follow up with what you're saying, I think, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in your interview, you were the first one to mention the phrase evidential mediumship, I think, with me. And talking, and I don't think very often, especially here in the US, you don't hear very many mediums open and willing to talk about inviting science into your world and your work and being really real about it, and also talking about your skepticism about how it all works. And I thought that was very cool too.
I come under a lot of flack because the true scientists, they say to me, we don't have any evidence. There's no empirical evidence. And, to a certain degree, that's true. Although actually, as you dig into this and you look at what the parapsychologists are doing, I think there is actually quite a lot of empirical evidence. But as a medium, I don't have it. And that's a fair enough comment. But there is evidence that is experience. And to just dismiss your own personal experience because somewhere in the back of our mind, culture says this isn't possible. Many of us are doing that. We're doubting what's actually happening with us because we think, but we've been told that's not possible and I must have got it wrong or I'm misinterpreting it. Now, one day I may well be found to have got the wrong slant on it. I absolutely know 100% there's something going on here. Will one day we have scientific knowledge in 100 years or more time that I can say, that's why I understood it to be like that? That's possible. And I think we got to keep questioning and keep answering and be honest about that. And clients like that. They're questioning too. We don't have to put ourselves on a pedestal and pretend that we are some amazing oracle. We're not. And most of the mediums that are genuine I know don't profess to be that either. And so when I talk about evidence, I'm talking about the experience that you have and whether that goes on the balance of probabilities in the favour of consciousness surviving. And sometimes that evidence, if a medium can do really well, goes beyond all reasonable doubt. And I'm just very lucky because I teach 2 scientists and I teach a lawyer, and they have helped me work through this. So I've got intelligent people around me, guiding me, helping me to think wider and wider and wider. When I was in my 20s, I might well have taken the sort of viewpoint that I hadn't questioned it enough analytically or scientifically, but now I have, and I'm still coming back to that. Yeah, but science hasn't got this right. This is happening. It's exciting, and I'm passionate to get this out there.
I know the fact that scientists are studying it increasingly now. And I don't know, Patrick, if it's because there are more women scientists than ever before, and they pay attention to the inner world rather than the external world. And I think that's amazing. But increasingly, scientists are saying to me, you can't discount the emotions and what's going on inside a person and within a person,
right,
when doing scientific work. And that, to me, is just an amazing leap forward. And because of that, there's so many I think you had Dr. Julia Mossbridge. Did you interview her?
No, not yet. And I've got her on my list, though.
Oh, she's I'm actually going to be working on a book with her, and Dean Radin is doing the forward for that next year. But she studies consciousness and had a breakthrough last year that the first book to be published by the American Psychological Association about transcendent experiences, which is like, really, we're getting there. We're getting this message out that, science is studying it. And the conclusion science is coming to is that there is something there. They don't know what. There is something there, the ability of our consciousness to exist separate from our body and our mind. I just find that so thrilling and exciting. And the fact that science is now saying, yeah, we actually need to study this. And it's interesting because Claire's talking about her love of science as well. So that's another thing we had in common, because just before I invited Claire onto my page, I'd had the Institute of Noetic Science team on my page talking about their research into the paranormal, parapsychology, consciousness, etc. So again, it was just perfect synchronicity, because I met a medium who was not afraid of the science. It's almost like, well, bring it on, test me. I want to know what's going on because I don't understand. I could be wrong. This could be telepathy. Find out for me. And that's very refreshing.
And mediumship's so frustrating. I write this in the book that, you can't make it work every time.
No.
Sometimes it just fails. We have to own that. Sometimes we have a good day.
She does demonstrations where she just stands up sometimes, and she has done this, the courage. When people are all gathered there, they've traveled, to say, look, nothing's coming through. I'm really sorry. Money back if you've paid or whatever. I can't. There's nothing happening. That's an honest medium, who's not just going to perform because the cash's been put on the table, whatever. She'll just say no. And she also has this refund policy if the people aren't feeling that they've had a satisfying experience, that she will refund. Is that true, Claire? I hope I haven't said something now that isn't. It is.
No, that's true. No, if clients come to me and I twofold. If they don't recognise who I'm trying to describe, then I haven't been able to provide the evidence there for them. Then naturally, obviously, I'd never charge. But also for me, if I don't feel I've been up to scratch, I'm not talking about, you will always get people that would just love to come along, take an hour of my time, and then at the end say they weren't happy. Well, that's different. I'm not going to be walked all over. But I know when a reading is working and when it's not. And I will honestly say, there's better to be had. Keep your money and try again another time. This isn't your evidence of survival for you. It's so important. It's about giving someone healing, comfort, empowerment. And this is the thing that's quite often missed by the skeptics, the power to give someone an experience that lifts them and allows them to leave happier. Even if you don't believe the medium's talking to a deceased person, just that fact alone means that there is a service there that medium is providing that's valuable. And so we have to honour that. As mediums, we have to realise how precious that is. And I hope that's what comes across, is the authenticity and my want to try and better this field. It is not about me. And I want to be joining with other mediums in this. And we can't do it on our own. None of us can. And there are some wonderful mediums out there. And I'm just trying to champion that. And I'm so grateful that Theresa's given me this platform with her fabulous books to try and perhaps highlight that to people, because often in the media you just get the wrong representation.
It's about having an ongoing relationship with someone who's passed over, because people, the old grief model is like, move on. But people don't want, when you've had a really important person in your life, that person's now a part of you. And you want an ongoing relationship in spirit. And in a way, it's almost like that happens in Christianity. When Christ died on the cross, his followers had that continued relationship because of the resurrection or whatever. You could say that's the same metaphor for what Claire is doing. There is an ongoing relationship in spirit. And she's trying to show that there is some realm there where the consciousness of the person who has passed has gone and still wants to connect with you.
Sorry, Theresa. My experience.
All the time, Patrick. Really.
Love her, really. Shut up.
You can tell you guys don't get along at all.
Oh, we love each other. But I was just about to say, the trouble is, Theresa and I, you know, when you found someone that you can chew over the fat with, and that person sparks off a thought, and you have an aha moment, and we're firing off each other all the time, and so it's just constant. But
I'm just gonna go get a snack real quick. You guys just keep going. I'll be back.
You're doing a great job.
Another Facebook Live shortly, Patrick. We're going to do a couple more.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
And our book launch is going to be exciting on Halloween. We're going to do a book launch in Leicester Square, London. That's going to be a very new thing, us talking and maybe a demonstration of mediumship. And we're hoping, you know, that we get a lot of support there. It's going to be very exciting on that day to do it.
I'll be there.
In spirit,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking I just better finish this point off because it was important, which is actually when people
with Claire, she will start a point and then she'll ramble off another thing.
I'm just thinking, I hope everyone's enjoying this. I was just about to say that actually when you give a message like that, that continued relationship is important. But actually what I found is that sometimes people get stuck in their grief. They don't move on because they feel that they feel like they're forgetting their loved one and dishonoring them. And actually, a lot of people think mediumship is like not allowing someone to move on in their life. It's the opposite. It gives them permission to move on in their life because they realize their loved one in spirit also is, and yet that bond between them remains and isn't going anywhere. So I just wanted to put that in.
Yeah, what I found out through Claire is that they're busy on the other side, because this life here and in the next is a constant learning.
Mm-hmm.
And they're busy evolving, you know, they're busy. They've got a lot to do there to fulfill them. And they know in a heartbeat that we'll be there too, because time doesn't exist in that realm from what I consider. That, you know, that's why they know that we were all one and we will unite there at some point. But they're busy learning, growing in spirit. And they want nothing better more than for us to also enjoy this precious moment we've got on this earth, to learn through the physical experience and to grow. That's what they want for us. And I think it must make them, if emotions are the same up there, feel very distressed for us if we are stuck in grief or not moving forward with our lives. They want us to go learn, grow, experience, and to talk to them in their mind and in our hearts all the time. You can
Absolutely.
talk, you know, you don't have to shut them away. They are hearing, they are listening.
Absolutely.
And the same for beloved pets.
Yes, and we have a special visitor here in the parlor, too. A beautiful pet. My pet decided to stay outside of the door today, so I can't introduce mine.
But, you know, sometimes the connection between human and animal, that's just a sacred bond as well. You know, people say, do animals have souls? I 100% think that they do. And love in any form continues. I get a lot of letters about people who are grieving pets and...
Yeah. Well, speaking of those letters, anyone familiar with your books know that, you know, we expect to hear beautiful stories from people who have contacted you with answers from heaven, experiences, or questions, and those are included in this book as well. And I'd just love to know, how big is your collection of stories, and how, and this is nerdy, how do you organize them all?
I just put them in categories like night visions, coins, feathers. I do have a category, or miscellaneous, because often when people write to me, their stories are a mix of signs that have come through. So those are quite hard to categorize. But there's some very clear, afterlife vision or experience with a medium or a dream. And in the olden days when I did it, it was wonderful because my mailbag it's all changed now.
Yeah.
People don't tend to write. Although I do sometimes get the most beautiful long letters, handwritten. It does tend to be more elderly people, and they just touch my heart so much. I mean, people who've lived through world wars and experiences that they talk about during the war, and now they're coming to the end of this life, and their thoughts and how they still feel connected to someone that they departed 30, 40 years ago. That's wonderful. But now it tends to be through my email, because I always give my email in my book, and that tends to be how I get most of my things, and on Facebook sometimes, although Facebook is more sort of an instant medium where people ask questions rather than submit big stories. But no, it's through email, and occasionally and my publisher every couple of months sends me a mailbag, and that's wonderful because I do try and reply to every single one. It is a joy, but it's quite time consuming. I mean, writing the books is one thing, but answering,
it's a whole job, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I couldn't feel more blessed. I couldn't. It's wonderful, and it's so fascinating. I couldn't think of anything more interesting, and so many people want to talk about it.
Yeah, to someone who will understand and not think they're crazy.
Yeah, I think they feel comfortable talking to me because I'm not a medium or a psychic, but I'm so drawn to it, and I have my moments. But there was this missing gap. As I said, I'd written books about the afterlife, but not kind of experienced it. Claire had experienced it and been a practitioner for 20 years, but not written about it. So do you see how both of us fulfilled the need of the other?
Puzzle pieces.
Yes.
So Claire, you mentioned many personal stories from your work as well in the book. Do either of you have a story or two you'd want to share from the book? And if not, we could totally cut this. Because I know we want people to read the book too.
Somebody called Patrick wrote to us.
Some big giant nerd contacted you.
For me, it's the near-death experience stories at the moment are really an area of great fascination for me. Each one of them, it kind of like fills in another piece of the puzzle that's heaven. The vibrant, exciting, because all of them are similar, but all of them are so different with different aspects of heaven. I love near-death experience stories each time. And they are just such a complete affirmation to me of what I write about. And in addition, I'd also do like stories about really powerful dreams that later go on to be played out in real life, that have something that's happened in a dream has given a person a clue of how to behave or has given them great comfort. Those two stories at the moment for me, but it changes. I mean, I might next week fall in love with my feather stories again.
Yeah.
Finding a white feather when you feel like you miss someone in spirit.
Yeah. Or dimes. I hear lots of stories about dimes here in the U.S. Yeah.
I mean, even I was walking my dog earlier and there was a white feather, and it just, I love the feeling of awe it inspires. Because even if it isn't, it's just a bird part, it doesn't matter. It's how it inspires you and makes you feel connected to something.
And talking of white feathers, I wasn't going to.
Right.
Well, actually, in the book, there are many stories about how I met White Feather. White Feather told me he named himself White Feather because he came in peace, so that it didn't scare me. But
you can edit the version, Patrick.
But
how could you have been scared? He was so hot.
I was young. I was not. Well, listen, he wasn't hot when he first showed up. He was coming all smelly.
That's right. I remember that.
It was a horrible smell we could smell, and we couldn't understand where it was coming from. And the whole family could smell this smell, and they were trying to search the house. The smell.
How does your husband feel about White Feather?
He's all right with him. He just takes it in. He says to me, "I don't think that until we can scientifically prove it." He listens open-mindedly. Yeah, he knows what I do, and he knows that there's no way that I'm making up what I'm saying. But he also is very scientifically minded, and he's just staying open.
Both our husbands are kind of like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" It's very funny, isn't it? They're supportive.
I'm glad you thought of that question, Theresa, by the way. I wish I would have thought of that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're changing them slowly. Their eyes are getting open. Oh, well, am I? Okay. So the story I was going to tell, which actually kind of feeds into that quite nicely, is the story about when I first had my first spirit communication, which I write about in the book, because I was 4 years old. And when I speak to Martin or other people that find it difficult to believe about, the spirit world, looking for the evidence, this is a story I come back to every time, because I was 4 and I was standing in a cemetery while my nan and my mum were tidying up my grandfather's plot. And my granddad had been cremated. There's just a little plot in the ground in the cemetery. And I just remember to this day being bored, being there and playing with stones and water with a vase that had been left behind. And the essence of my granddad just came over me. It just completely engulfed me, his personality and everything. And I just heard so clearly, "Claire, tell Nanny, Granddad says I love you, Ive." Now, it was so unusual, even for me. I was just coming up for 4 at that age. It stuck with me forever. And when what's so funny is I was irritated because I was playing. I didn't want to stop playing and say that. And that strikes me too, that I didn't even question it as a child. It was just happening and it was irritating. And so he was so persistent that in the end I stood up and I was like, "Nanny, Granddad says I love you, Ive." Let me pass that on and I can get on with it. And they by this point, I remember they were standing at a gate getting ready to leave. And the two of them were looking at each other absolutely gobsmacked, because who says that? What 3.5, 4-year-old is saying those kinds of things? Children of that age haven't thought about an afterlife. I didn't have a great deal of attachment to my granddad, unfortunately, at that point. I'd been very young while he'd been ill most of my life. So even as he passed, I didn't have that loving bond. I'd heard lots about him, but I was just too young to even really care. Doesn't that sound awful? And so there wasn't a vulnerability or a need to pass that on, or all the things that, you hear.
It's also the name, wasn't it? Because you didn't know.
That's right, yeah, because my nan, obviously I called her Nanny. My mum called her Mum. Everybody else called her Connie. And she didn't like being called Ivy because it reminded her of poison ivy. And apparently my granddad was the only one who could call her Ive. It was those little things. My nan knew that had come from my granddad. She just knew. And she only died a couple of years ago. She was 92 and she was still talking of that day up until her passing. She knew she was going to see him. And there are many stories like that. There's so many stories that we could share that are so beautiful. Just what's lovely about Answers from Heaven is it isn't just my say-so or Theresa's say-so. It's a book full of other people's experiences too. But that's the story I like to share as a dip your toe in. And then they get much more outlandish after that. So if you're brave, come and follow the story.
Well, I also want to point out another section that I don't think is included in many books of this kind. And Claire, what?
What's she done?
Oh, well, it's a chapter that to me seems like kind of like a frequently asked questions, an FAQ kind of thing, where you answer. I'm just going to go through several of them. You answer, where do I go to find a reputable medium? How can I recognize a good reading? What steps can I take to prevent falling foul of bad quality mediumship or worse, fraud? Is it detrimental to call up the dead? Will a medium tell me things I don't want to hear, like predicting a death? My loved one and I have agreed on a code. Will the medium be able to bring it through? I've had that question before. Why do some mediums charge when others don't? What can I expect during a one-to-one sitting with a medium working with mental mediumship? How long should I leave it after my loved one dies before seeing a medium? What will happen to me if I ignore the advice of my spirit loved ones? Can mediumship be effective during grief counseling, which is interesting? And then are my family watching me all the time, which is kind of funny. And that's just, there's some I didn't read, but I was just like, how great, because these are questions that I see people ask in social media circles all of the time. And to get that answer like a resource right there from a medium who can help you, it has to relieve some of the anxieties that people would have.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. We really hope it does. I really hope it does. And I hope it's honest and it's answering people just as it is, and they can then make their own mind up.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's even one of those, I'll be able to refer people to it, you know, when because people come to me as a source sometimes for answers on things just because of being the host of a nerdy podcast. And, you know, I have no expertise on these things, and to be able to have kind of a direction to give them is kind of cool.
Oh,
but what I would like to know, what do either of you think the future, and I think you may have hit on this, what does the future of mediumship look like? Or maybe in a perfect world, what does mediumship look like?
Should I ever go first, Claire?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. For me, I'd like to see mediums, you know, scientifically approved mediums working alongside grief counselors to help people with the harrowing journey of grief. Because I've seen how mediums can heal and empower people. I'd like to see that. And above all, though, my passion right now is to make spirituality more mainstream, to stop it being something you laugh about or being low on your list of priorities, you know, your career and everything else above that. And I would like to get spirituality right up that table, that it's as important as all these other things, these physical things we focus on. That's where I see it. And mediumship, I think, can play a powerful role in helping us take this seriously, because it is quite hard being a psychic world writer, the way the world regards you. And I found that when I first started to go on Facebook, it was harrowing, the criticism, and to just make it more mainstream, more credible, because I don't think we do ourselves a service, sometimes people in the industry, because sometimes it does look very loony, and you could think, what? And, you know, there has been lots of fraud or whatever. And to sort of say, yes, there is that aspect. That's the human side. However, there are some amazing people out there who do this because it's their calling. These are the people we should be following, not the people who made it into a circus and it's all about ego and making loads of money and having masses of Facebook followers or whatever. That's not what we're about. It's about people who are spirit and kind of bring a piece of spirit onto this earth, and their light lights up others. And I do think, I could be wrong, Claire. I always say that I do think Claire's one of these people. Give her a platform. She will never develop a huge ego or abuse her gifts. And it's people like her that at the moment I'm working to help promote. Claire in mediumship, other people in other ways. I'm trying to do that the same in the scientific realm as well, and in the entertainment field. But people who are the real deal, who are genuine, and people you actually could feel you could trust with your life and are honest. That was a really bad answer to your question. I rambled around. You see, I'm getting...
No, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
I think to me, just taking it one step further than that, because it was a lovely answer.
How lovely?
Describe it, please.
Because I'm going to get minimized, Patrick, and I know that. And I know that because I am quite intuitive, really. I know this book is about Claire. It is the most powerful section in the book, I honestly say. And I say to people, read from chapter 5 onwards, because that's where Claire does it. Because I know that she is the magic here. That because I was the author, I had to give her that platform, right? And I know that she will grow and I will slowly go into other areas. I know that. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but I just feel that she is the power of this book. She is the sunflower.
See, I think it goes beyond that. I think it goes beyond you.
I'm the soil, the mud.
No, well, that's beautiful. You can't have one without the other. To me, something is going on beyond us. And actually, that's what I was about to say, funnily enough. It's led in perfectly. Because for me, the future of mediumship is when everybody has an understanding that they can have that communion for themselves and I'm no longer needed. To me, that's the future. That's where I'm heading for. When science can come together and we can have an understanding that perhaps I can continue to have that relationship and I don't need a medium for it. Wouldn't that be an amazing world? I mean, I still think we'd need each other because, I can't read for myself, for example. I start to think, I do get insights from my family, but I couldn't sit and do a reading for myself because you would think it's just wishful thinking. We'd still need each other but we'd share those experiences. We'd share that communication openly with each other, and we wouldn't need it. It would just be a fabric of human ability. That's the future. A long way off. That's where I'm headed.
That's beautiful, Claire. And also, I just want to say about Claire also is that it just doesn't happen. I mean, she gives the impression that she heard these voices at 4, and then she went away and she went into a kind of medium school. And I didn't know I actually didn't realize that you go into development circles and you sit for years and years. I don't know how long you did, Claire. Don't want to give you away age here.
No, I don't mind. No, I sat for 10 years with my teacher Sheila Thomas, and I write about that in the book too. And I still sit. So 22 years I've been sitting in development. It is still unfolding.
When you get trained and you learn and you grow.
That's right.
And a lot of people haven't got it's hard work, and it requires an enormous amount of mental, emotional, psychological discipline, I would think, to do that, and commitment. And a lot
it's like a sportsman. But how do sports people become good in their field? Because they just are driven to keep practicing.
The medium Olympics, it's like that, isn't it? They have to train. It doesn't just happen. People always think
absolutely
when someone has a gift that you forget behind the scenes that there's been a lot of hard work. And I mean, maybe I don't know. Some people are more gifted than others, but maybe if I'd sat for 12 years and given all that time and concentration and mental power to that instead of writing my books, maybe I could be now a medium. I don't know. And Claire would say everybody has this gift, but some people develop it and have the personality because I don't think I would have the personality to have that discipline to do that.
I think we all can. I mentioned Karen A. Dalman in the book because she was really influential on me getting on the board because I was frightened of it. And I've watched you, Patrick, try on that and struggle with it, We all have. There's many, many ways you can have that connection with the spirit world. Many ways. It's just finding that avenue that sits well with you, that allows you to let go, open your mind and allow that inspiration in. And, I do believe that we just got to find the right way for each other, understand that we're wired differently, our brains work differently. Some people have a strength with names, some people have a strength with faces, some people are more analytical, some people are very creative. You get in the flow and you work with that, and that's what takes years. It's understanding who you are, what you're good at, and then working with those skills and allowing the spirit world to work with you. It's quite a lot of psychology in it, and it's just fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Well, I could watch and listen to you guys bounce back and forth all day long because it is so fascinating. But I do want to make sure we clarify like when the book is coming out, and it's coming out in the UK first, correct?
Yes, that's the 2nd of November in the UK, amazon.co.uk. When's it coming out in America, Claire? I don't know.
We don't have a date for the paperback in America, but it is available on Kindle in America for $8.
Great.
On Amazon. So it is available to our lovely friends in America and around the world. And obviously you can order it on amazon.co.uk and have it shipped across.
Published by
and it's available in other bookstores as well, I think, isn't it, in the UK?
And also, Patrick, what we love, I mean, this is not self-published. This is by the second biggest publishing house in the world, Hachette Books. So again, that gives it's our dream, spirituality mainstream. We haven't had to do it ourselves, or we've gone for one of the most powerful publishers in the world behind this, and that's a blessing, isn't it, Claire?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I can't wait to have a special dead tree version of the book, either swam. Somebody can swim the book across or fly it across or put it on a ship or somewhere. But I can't wait to get a hold of a physical copy of it, even though I've already read it.
That's another thing. We wanted vibrancy. So the cover is, because they wanted to put a feather on it, and we said no. We made sure this time a book about mediumship is not going to be all demure and quiet and grey. It's going to be vibrant and full of life, because that's what heaven is.
So we shall send you your sunflower copy over and bring some sun into your life, Patrick. Signed, big kisses.
Yay. And I'll do like I do with many of my other books. I'll take it up to my shelf and go, oh, as I add it to the collection. It's
Absolutely.
like a little ceremony. I'm such a nerd about it. I love it.
We are so honored.
Well, I know that we have to end here very soon, but give us, I know you're not, neither of you are a fan of self-promotion, as you said in that video that you guys did.
We're getting there, Patrick.
Well, let's take some practice, and it'll be okay, because I'm going to force you. That's how you can be okay with it. So do either of you have projects or events coming up that you want to leave us with?
I'll start and then you can finish, Claire. With me, I'm, as you know, my Jedi Nights, that's big over here. We're having a YouTube book launch, Patrick. Awesome. Which is about living as a master Jedi, which is spirituality by another name. Again, my attempt to make spirituality mainstream. That's generating a lot of interest. And that's out on November the 16th, actually. YouTube book launch. Google in the US want to fly him over to him to talk to the staff there. So that's great, because people would engage with Star Wars. And it's a way to talk about spirituality, because the book is really an introduction to spirituality. And then after that, I'm working with Dr. Julia Mossbridge, book with a foreword by Dr. Dean Radin, called The Premonition Code, all about precognition and sensing the future. So I've got my work cut out for me, and promoting Claire as much as I can. I don't think she'll need it for soon. I just think she will fly, and, the media will come to her, which is quite right, because she's got something, I think, in the mail coming up, hopefully The Sun in the Mirror, and quite a few big things where they're now asking to speak to her. And that's exactly what I want, because she is the voice of spirit.
So do you have 26 books coming up, Claire?
She will do.
I've certainly got another one in me. That's
She's a first-time author, you see, because they've taken a leap of faith with her. So, but this book will be her platform.
I do hope so. But in the meantime, I'm putting it in the hands of the spirit world, to be honest. It's them who guided it. It's them who got me here, and it's them that I trust in. And so for the short term, obviously, on the 31st on Halloween, we're at Watkins Bookstore in London, which is going to be fantastic, because that is a 100-year-old esoteric bookstore. I mean, the energy in there is going to be amazing. And then the book comes out on the 2nd of November. And if anybody, I want to hear from people. I want to hear what people got from the book, what they want to know more from about mediumship, so that I can hopefully then write again down the line. So I shall be getting out and about in front of people, doing more public demonstrations. And people can find me on my website, www.clairebroad.com, or even better, come and join me on my Facebook page at Medium Claire Broad, and we've got a lovely community there where like-minded people are coming and sharing their stories.
It's a hidden gem, that page. It really is. I mean, Claire gives so much, insight. Her posts are always well thought out and really interesting, and she engages there in a way that has inspired me, actually, to put more effort into my author page, because I'm on Facebook too, Theresa Cheung author. But Claire's, I said, it's a hidden gem, and I hope loads of people go over there and ask her questions, because she will get back to you when she can, and just be inspired by it. Enjoy what she does on her page. She makes it a community of people who want to connect. So it's not just a page. Am I right, Claire? It's like
that's right. It's a place where people can come and share their stories, because they don't always feel they can. They can ask questions and just support one another. Sometimes, there's some people with grievance, other people just wanting to be uplifted. It's like I keep saying, and I truly mean this, it's beyond me. It's not about the medium. So it's the message that's important. So lots of really exciting stuff, Patrick, and I really hope you and I are still continuing that journey, because you've been a catalyst.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's your fault, Patrick, I think. You have created us. It's like Frankenstein.
Oh, no. Well, I'm very proud to say that, I was able to interview you early on. I mean, it wasn't early on in your journey, but, I think I got to you before Theresa did, right? So
I
won.
You took a leap of faith in a complete unknown person, and you were so gracious.
You told me to connect with Claire. You were mentioning her, I think.
Oh, I did?
Yes.
Shut up. I am the master of this connection here?
No, this is before the book. I think so. I mean, you did. You were full of... And actually, I got a bit jealous again. I do get very jealous. It was Claire this, it was Claire that. You know, it's like...
Oh, gosh.
Well, it's a mutual appreciation, Patrick. I really appreciate it. I'll never forget that you took a risk on an unknown and interviewed them for your wonderful show. And I love your show. And so it's just been an honour.
It's the best. It really is. It's the best podcast out there.
Oh, you guys rock. I appreciate it.
Again, I love what you do because you normalize it.
Well, Theresa, I don't think we got to hear your website. What's your website before we go?
Oh, www.theresachung.com.
Awesome. You guys rock, and I wish you luck with the book and the cool Halloween stuff coming up. I'm jealous. I wish I could easily swim over there really quick just to be over there at the bookstore. That's awesome, but I'm sure I'll see some video of it or something like that.
It's going on YouTube because Watkins Books has a YouTube channel, and amazing people have gone on their YouTube channel. So we feel very blessed, you know, real greats like Urquhart Tolle and people of that level. So we'll be joining, the ranks of that, and that will be recorded forever on their Watkins Media YouTube. So it's a big honor for us to be there. And as I said, it's the oldest esoteric bookshop in the world, not just the UK.
Oh, that would be heaven. Speaking of heaven.
1883 it was founded, and it's been trading ever since. And it's right in Cecil Court, Leicester Square, wonderful location. You
guys rock. This has been like a little party.
It's wonderful. Thank you. It's been a joy.
For show notes, including links to anything we may have mentioned in this episode, visit bigseance.com. Just click on the Big Seance Podcast logo or find it in the menu. You can also find and subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio. Do you have any comments or feedback? Go to bigseance.com/feedback to learn how to get your voice in a future show. Or you can call my feedback line, 7755-TELL-ME. That's 775-583-5563. Interested in learning how to promote and share the podcast? Go to bigseance.com/share. Thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, it's time to blow the candles out, but we'll see you and light them again next time.
Yeah.
I meant that. Like, I don't know how anybody could watch your face and listen to your voice and think anything but, oh my gosh, this woman is, she could be a friend. She's authentic. She,
yeah. I mean, am your really, friend.
Yes. Yes. And I'm
She's
honored.
like that when she does her demonstrations as well, Patrick.
Yeah.
I wish you could see. Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to get my, because I'm running out of juice here.
She's just throwing stuff across the room.
Getting a nice view of your lounge there, too.
Yeah.
What's that? An early Christmas tree in the corner?
I was wondering what that was.
So quickly. I know. There we go. I've just got to plug it up. There we go.
I think this is it, Patrick. You're
images and stuff, so I need to figure out if I'm going to do an image with both of you.
You're going to have to do a lot of work on Claire.
Oh my God, that's funny. We'll airbrush some stuff,
Also photo for the back of the book.
Awesome. awesome.
Well, we've got our own separate photos. Come on, they're a bit better, Claire, aren't they? The one with us together, we look like.
No, I'm just thinking of
It's not good. It's not good.
Well, that's fine. Okay, we'll do separate.
I'll play around and see
The
what
one
we
you
can do.
used for my last podcast, I love that one. It's the one time where somehow the camera angles were all right. Please use that one.
The
Claire,
one I used before?
Yeah, Claire, we could put
Okay.
White Feather up there. Me and White Feather, I think.
Oh my gosh. That was so funny. Oh.
Dear.
No,
You
Claire's
see?
beautiful. She doesn't realise it. No, I'm just winding
That was
up.
such a great question. What does your husband think about White Feather? Why didn't I have that on my notes?
He's tolerant.
So
It almost seems like there's an earthquake over at Theresa's house because her
We're just feeling a bit sick at the moment. I've gone quiet.
roller coaster.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you do realise I'm holding this in my hand.
You must
see.
I know
have a
you've
few
done-
extra muscles now in that hand.
I'm trying to give you the best shot, really.
Hold on, I'll just do a screenshot now and make that the promo image.
I want. Oh God, Claire! Oh God!
I wish you lived closer, Patra. I think we could have some fun.
You guys are a comedy duo.
I think that's what spirituality needs. It needs some comedy because it's very funny, actually. And if you can actually see that, I think that it really does need that.
Yeah. You guys have a
Thank you.
fabulous weekend and a good evening.
And
We
you.
will. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Bye. Kisses. Mwah.
Mwah.